Buenas tardes. Bienvenidos al Festival de Capstone del Departamento de Humanidades y Comunicación, primavera de 2025. Mi nombre es Marlene Romero y seré su maestra de ceremonias en español.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Department of Humanities and Communication Spring 25 Capstone Festival. My name is Hannah, and I will serve as the English-speaking Master of Ceremonies.
Les queremos agradecer a los estudiantes, familiares y amigos que hoy nos están acompañando. Igualmente, deseamos agradecer a todos los profesores y el personal de la Universidad Estatal de California, de la Bahía de Monterey, por sus compromisos con la visión de la universidad.
Now we would like to thank the students, families, and friends who have joined us today. Equally so, we wish to thank the faculty and staff of California State University, Monterey Bay for their commitment to the CSUMB vision.
Los proyectos de Capstone que ustedes verán hoy reflejan el trabajo de los estudiantes del programa de Humanidades y Comunicación. En estos proyectos se demuestra nuestro crecimiento intelectual y personal y nuestro esfuerzo para traer a luz los temas de gran interés para cada uno de nosotros. Además, aquí se refleja el trabajo y apoyo de nuestros maestros.
The capstone projects you will see today reflect the work of students majoring in humanities and communication. They represent our hard work and effort bringing light to issues we are passionate about. These projects show our intellectual and personal growth and reflect the support of our professors.
Este año tenemos 3 secciones del Capstone curso. Cada sección se ha dedicado a explorar una temática en particular. El primer tema es medios, cultura popular y identidad, dirigido por la doctora Ho-Jin Song. El segundo tema es Nuestras vidas digitales, guiado por la doctora Estela Porras. Y el tercer tema es Justicia ambiental, liderado por el doctor Kai-Chi Hua. Los estudiantes han tenido la opción de explorar estos temas haciendo un trabajo de investigación o un proyecto creativo.
This semester, we have 3 sections of our senior capstone course. Each section explores a particular theme. The first theme is Media, Pop Culture, and Identity, led by Dr. Ho-Jin Song. The second theme is Our Digital Lives, led by Dr. Estela Porras. The third theme is Environmental Justice, led by Dr. Kaki Hua. Students in each section explore these themes by working on one of the following options: a research paper or a creative project.
Nuestro festival incluye una variedad de proyectos presentados en forma de pósters digitales. Todos los pósters se podrán ver por medio de los enlaces disponibles en el programa de festival. Haga clic en el nombre del estudiante para ver el póster digital. En el intermedio, ustedes podrán conversar con los estudiantes sobre sus proyectos. Además, algunos estudiantes fueron seleccionados para presentar oralmente sus proyectos.
Today's festival showcases a variety of projects presented in a poster gallery. All the capstone posters are linked to the festival program. Simply click on the capstone student's name and the link will take you to their digital slides. During the intermission, you can interact with the scholars about their experiences. Students from each capstone section were selected to orally present projects from their class. These presentations will provide further insight into the theme their class explored.
Y ahora nos gustaría invitar al director del Departamento de Humanidades y Comunicación, el Dr. Phong Nguyen, para darles la bienvenida al Festival de Primavera de Capstone 2025.
And now, we would like to invite the Chair of Department of Humanities and Communication, Dr. Phong Nguyen, to personally welcome you to Spring 2025 Capstone Festival.
My boss here, coming on stage with me, help with my stage fright. Good morning, everybody. I see a lot of family and a lot of friends today to support our seniors, and I want to personally thank you for taking the time to come here. It means a lot to them, and it means a lot to us. Our seniors have been working hard to get to this day, and I'm looking forward to seeing all their projects. Whether it's their life, their values, or something they care passionately about, our seniors are here today to essentially share their story. Some of these stories were years in the making, some not so long. Regardless, we're here to celebrate these stories at this stage in their lives. In some ways, the text speaks for itself. And we also know that your work is a reflection of where you are at and who's reading your work. These projects are bound to look different if you had more time, more resources, or had someone else giving you feedback. Ideas are always evolving, and that's okay. The last time I got to tell my story like this was back in 2009 when I was defending my doctoral dissertation on the history of Vietnamese refugees in Southern California. The 4 years up to that point was my advisor sending me off to read a lot of books, hit up the archives, interview a lot of people, gather data, conduct interviews, and then write about my findings, which in a way sounds simple, but in the humanities, the writing is just as important as the ideas. That's okay. A lot of us in grad school thought we knew it all and could write the dissertation without doing the research. We had read so much, understood the historical trends, memorized the sociological theories, took stock of social theories, and recognized the transcripts, hidden or otherwise. Unfortunately, despite being Vietnamese, I didn't know enough about Vietnamese from an historical or sociological perspective, not because I was ashamed of it, but because my parents thought that the best way to deal with war, exile, and trauma was to simply not talk about it. And they weren't the only ones. About half the people I tried to contact in order to get interviewed also said no. The war officially ended in 1975, but its impact and its imprint would last much longer. The ones who were generous enough to share their stories really opened my eyes. Intentionally or not, my interviewees helped fill a void in my own family history. Not only in terms of what happened when they left Vietnam, but also why. My favorite story was that of Mr. Ho Xuân Mai, a young pianist from Vietnam whose first job in America was working as a busboy at the Roosevelt Hotel in Hollywood for the meager wage of only $2.10 an hour, which was the minimum wage at that time. Mr. Ho Xuân Mai's story is so interesting because he was a pianist in Vietnam, and he didn't get a chance to do that anymore as a busboy. But one day at the Roosevelt Hotel, as they were setting up for an event, he had always noticed a piano sitting in the corner of the ballroom. And one day he decided to take a break and play that piano. And what he thought was just going to be a 15-minute absence turned out to be an hour because he had loved that piano so much and wanted to play it. And obviously making $2.10 an hour, he wasn't going to be able to afford one. When he finished playing the piano, he was surprised that everybody around him was gathered and gave him a huge round of applause. And he figured he had been caught and he was going to get fired. And his boss said, "Sir, can I have you come to my office? We need to talk." And he said, "Okay, I guess I'm done for." And his boss said, "You know what? I think you're too qualified to be a busboy. We have a nightclub here called the Cinegrill, and we would love you to be one of our pianists there." And he said, "That would be great. Would it be possible for me to invite some of my bandmates who are there at the refugee camp at Camp Pendleton to join us and maybe have one night reserved for Vietnamese music?" And his boss said yes. And in late 1975, at one of these typical Vietnamese nights, a young social worker by the name of Nam Loc Nguyen, who had left Vietnam on his own, had composed a song in his apartment in Inglewood called "Farewell Saigon." And when he had finished the song, a story that he thought was simply his own wasn't. The whole audience was in tears. And he realized that this wasn't just my story, this was everybody else's as well. I collected enough stories and filled enough pages that my dissertation and reading group of fellow Vietnamese grad students admitted being brought to tears by my prose. I was proud to have helped them fill a void in their own lives and was looking forward to my dissertation committee lavishing the same praise upon me. But it was a different audience with different expectations. They were less interested in the stories and wanted to know what made the Vietnamese experience unique, as though it didn't have value otherwise. I tried my best to be balanced in my treatment of the community, but most of my advisors thought I was being too soft on them, while a prominent Vietnamese professor from another institution thought I was being too hard on the community. One advisor only cared about how much evidence I could bring to the table. Another advisor only cared about how strong my arguments are, regardless of the evidence. When I tried pitching this project to a major book publisher, the first one I met with said I should include more white voices in the manuscript. Another press passed on my work because they said they didn't do narrative history. Another editor wanted an opening chapter on the Vietnam War itself. As you can see, the project would have looked very different depending on which reader I tried to cater to. In the end, I settled on the press that liked my project the most and appreciated the story I had to tell. Their only stipulation was it had to be cut down to 60,000 words, which was quite a lot, but I reluctantly agreed to it. When a graduate student asked me recently if there was anything I regretted about the whole process, it was that I had to cut out a lot of the details of the refugee experience in order to get the book published on time and within the publisher's desired word count. I got to tell my story, but not the whole story. But nonetheless, it's something to be proud of. The same goes for our graduates in HCOM and Ethnic and Gender Studies today. Whether we have all day or only 2 hours, I'm very proud of everyone here for being able to share your stories. And I hope everyone here has a chance to appreciate as many stories today, because many of these stories were a lifetime in the making. Thank you very much.
Gracias, Dr. Nguyen, por sus palabras de bienvenida. Y ahora vamos a introducir a los ponentes que fueron seleccionados de cada clase.
Thank you, Dr. Nguyen, for your welcome. And now we would like to begin with the oral presentations prepared by the selected presenters from each section.
A continuación, damos la bienvenida a la primera expositora, Aubrey Amila.
Now please join us in welcoming our first presenter, Aubrey Amila.
Hello. Good morning, everyone. I would like you to consider something. No, I mean, consider yourself. Consider those around you in all forms of life. I know we all have gotten very sick at one point, whether that be physically or mentally. And that place, the hospital, isn't somewhere we ever want to be in. But in some cases, some of our people cannot afford to be there. My name is Aubrey Amila, and my concentration is in creative writing and social action. For my capstone project, I wrote an illustrative anthology of poems called Remedy Out of Reach, a poetic exploration of the cost of care in public life, which is designed to inform about the progressive changes that threaten accessibility, affordability, safety, and quality of healthcare, as well as to prompt reflection and encourage deeper consideration of the choices we make. The creation of Remedy Out of Reach is rooted from personal experiences, most especially from my high school and college years, where in my household we have called the ambulance multiple times for life-threatening emergencies. With up to 1,500 with insurance and up to 3,500 without insurance, we can say that wanting to survive is very costly. Mind you, that these costs is just the ambulance, not including the hospital bills. Many of my poems can be tethered to Johann Galtung's structural violence theory, a theory that argues that violence does not always come from physical harm, as sometimes it is built inside a system. It is when systems like the economy, education, or healthcare prevent people from acquiring their basic needs, or giving unnecessary policies that make it hard for these people to access these free items. My poem, Titanic Tender, is inspired by this elderly couple in the documentary Invisible Patients, who were prevented by their primary doctor from getting pain medication because they thought they were selling prescription drugs, like in the streets. From there, they explored multiple insurances and had to spend extra money despite being old and needing extra money. The poem, A Beggar a Bat, echoes the same internal violence inflicted upon the people who cannot afford health care. It is taken into a case where the speaker of the poem becomes a beggar on the streets, reciting, "Beggar, beggar, do I belittle the little parts of me that ask for more. On the streets, my palms outstretched, asking for $1 or $2, or a fruit, an apple, that can help keep the doctor away." As you can see, the lack of affordable healthcare is linked to the homelessness crisis happening in the United States. As it is linked to homelessness, it is also linked to the increased rate of crimes. Ever heard of the man in North Carolina who robbed the bank for $1 so he can finally get the healthcare he needed, but in prison? Or perhaps you have heard about Luigi Mangione, who resented health insurance companies and had so much disdain for corporate greed that he killed the healthcare CEO. Mind-blowing, right? Yeah. My poem, The Tale of Two Oxymorons, explored this theme of anger blooming into violence from a narrator who saw children and elderly get denied in the hospital. As he boiled inside, he said, "I swore in anger and shots. I was already past gone. He couldn't even touch me." While it can be frustrating to be part of an unjust system, watching the people you care about suffer, it is not okay to physically hurt anybody to hope for a small change. It is not ethical and can cause a wave of grief. And grief, as I understood it, can mentally and emotionally drown anyone. It is better to be outside peacefully and passionately preaching than to be the one that causes harm. Slide. That is a brief overview of my capstone project. I've printed a booklet if anyone wants to read it. And then while I'm up here, I would like to thank my friends, my mom, my dad, and the rest of my family for their unwavering support since the beginning. And then my high school teachers, Ms. Frangel and Mr. Ketterling, for knowing and believing I was a poet and writer before I decided that I am one. Because of you guys, I'm going to Columbia University, and with I love you so much. And I would also like to thank any Ords members for trusting me to lead this club this school year as a president. And of course, my mentors, Dr. Song, Dr. Flores, Professor Jones, for their patience and encouragement. And thank you for listening. I will pass this stage over to amazingly affable Allison Berry. Thank you.
What do you mean? We ask that question all the time. Our spouses, our bosses, the cop charging us with a crime, that question is everywhere. So what do we mean? Especially when it comes to important people like politicians, how can we tell the intent behind their words and gauge how audiences will respond to what they say? My name is Allison Berry, and my Capstone project explores this question. I looked at the spoken and written communication techniques that politicians use, something I call M-code, and how their frame language affects an audience's interpretation and response. Specifically, I looked at President Lincoln's Gettysburg Address, the one that goes 77 years ago, and a few of President Trump's past Twitter posts. I then gathered Democratic and Republican newspapers, news stories, and comments corresponding to that president's particular message, so I could analyze the audience's reaction to that material. But let's slow down. M-code is a conscious or unconscious use of communication techniques such as diction and tone. This includes the attitude of a speaker or writer, word choice, word order, grammar, formality, etc. Also important to the study was framing theory, which I used to look at how diction and tone, the M-code, can serve as framing devices, presenting information in a particular light and thus becoming powerful tools for politicians. My overall argument is that an audience's interpretation of M-code is impacted by political affiliation, but not decided by it. A politician's intention of gaining audience favor by using words that have the potential to persuade or manipulate is strongly influenced by partisanship, but doesn't wholly determine an audience reaction. An isolated engagement between an audience and the politician's original communication is crucial in recognizing this effect. My findings produce two major themes: political intent and audience reaction. Political intent references the idea that politicians always aim to endorse their own opinions, and they'll use the language that supports such. For example, Trump's M-code revealed how he wanted to establish himself as a hero, as the best. I served them massive amounts of food. I paid. Even when perhaps that idea was very warranted. Hamburgers. In terms of audience reaction, I found two predictable responses. With politicians from their opposing party, audiences use the politician's M-code as an opportunity to mock that politician, ridiculing their M-code in the process. Stephen Colbert and Seth Meyers immediately pounced upon Trump's hamburger typo. With politicians from their own party, audiences often mirrored the politician's M-code, almost like echoing. Fox articles talking about Trump's Twitter posts often used his same theatrics. Deviation from this effect, however, originated from interacting with the politician's direct M-code, as did comments at the bottom of the Fox News article, who recognized Trump's typo as a mistake, even when Fox had dismissed it. The takeaway is this: partisanship filters audience reactions, but doesn't fully control it. When people hear original M-code, not surrounded by additional biases of news articles or individuals, they sometimes respond in ways that their political identity wouldn't predict. Understanding M-code is an essential civic skill. This gives audiences like you and me the opportunity to be better voters and better members of a democratic society. Again, my name is Allison Berry. If anyone out there is looking for an employee, I'm looking for a boss. The QR code on the screen will take you to my LinkedIn page. Also, a thank you to my classmates, my professors, all of my supporters, my partner, friends, family, anyone who has supported me on my educational path. I thank you dearly. And finally, you've been a lovely audience. Thank you. And now for something a little bit more entertaining, we have the Creative Project by Kaylee Gonzalez.
Hello everyone. Today I will be presenting a fictional comedy that carries purpose in age discrimination and generations colliding. In this capstone, I delve into the question of what happens when different generations collide and discover that they need each other. My story is called Lost and Found, and I chose to write this story because I was inspired by that feeling that we all may have experienced at one point of feeling like the odd one out. This story in particular presents the expectations put upon us to understand the basis of technology. And sometimes we just have no clue what's going on, no matter the age that we are under. The story is about a 66-year-old man named Walden, who is a widower struggling to find purpose after the loss of his wife. He's living in the same apartment complex as his older sister. He receives emotional support from her as he navigates retirement. In need of a fresh start, his sister introduces him to her friend Carol, a CEO at a trendy dating tech company. Carol hires Walden as a senior intern to help with the development of a new dating app aimed at Gen Z and millennials. Despite the age gap, Walden brings a surprising and insightful perspective to the team. However, his impressive idea is ignored until a younger employee, Cyrus, presents it as his own. While Cyrus is secretly ashamed that an older man understands his generation than he does, he still takes credit for Walden's idea, realizing that his age is the reason he's been dismissed and undervalued. Walden decides to take a stand by filing an age discrimination report against Carol herself. The story themes include love, in which Sheila, his sister, really cares about Walden finding purpose again after his wife's passing. There's betrayal, in which Cyrus steals Walden's idea of his big project and doesn't give him any credit given. The age discrimination is when the boss, Carol, accepts the project idea once a younger employee presents it. And lastly, there is justice, in which Walden takes action and files a report towards the whole situation. The story was inspired by the movie The Intern, directed by Nancy Meyers, as well as my own reflections on how fast technology is growing. Technology is becoming our lives, and yet it can feel incredibly isolating, even for younger generations. I wanted to explore what happens when someone from an older generation is thrown into a world dominated by screens, especially in something as personal and confusing as modern dating. This is a story about resilience, connection, and the value of every generation. It touches on grief, personal growth, and the quiet strength of people who support us along the way. And while Walden is the central character, the women in the story play powerful roles as well. Sheila, his sister, refuses to let him give up on motivation. His late wife reminds him of what love really means. And Vanessa, his colleague, even though there's conflict in the beginning of the story between them two, she's ultimately the reason why he finds courage to speak up in the first place. And this isn't just a story about age, it's about being seen, valued, and heard. And it's about how many people of all ages struggle to find their place and purpose in a fast-moving world. Through characters like Walden and Cyrus, we see two sides of the same challenge. That need of having to prove yourself in a world that's constantly evolving. Okay, and now before closing my presentation, I would like to thank everyone for coming today, and a special thanks for Professor Jones and Professor Song for their amazing encouragement and support. I would also like to thank my sisters and parents for coming, as well as my friends' support. And I would like to thank my classmates, Aubrey and Jose, for their amazing editing skills. And now I will go ahead and pass the stage to Brooke Sampson. Thank you.
Chop on the floor, pistol on the couch, hood rich, so I never had a bank account. Junkies going in, junkies going out, made 100,000 in my trap house. These are the lyrics from the hit song Trap House by Radrick Davis, also known as Gucci Mane, where he recounts his time as a youth selling drugs in order to remain above the poverty line. As I'm sure we can all agree, my recitation of those lyrics was painfully awkward, stilted, and felt super phony. However, I would like you to imagine an entire group of people doing exactly what I just did, but tenfold. Hundreds of thousands of Gucci Mane fans dressing exactly like him, talking like him, emulating the slang he uses, the way he wears his clothes. Well, you don't have to imagine, because if you walk into any suburban high school in America right now, you will see the majority of white teen boys doing exactly what I just described. My study explores the appeal of rap culture and Black culture on young white male audiences. Through means of consumerism and cultural appropriation, white teen boys distort the image of Black men, thus perpetuating cultural stereotypes and misconceptions akin to American minstrelsy practices of the 19th and 20th century. Through interviews with 2 white teenage boys, both living in suburban areas, along with the lyrical analyses of rap music produced by Black artists, I have concluded that white teenage males' fascination with rap culture results in a distorted view of the Black community, specifically Black men. My research utilizes W.E.B. Du Bois's double consciousness theory, which refers to the internal conflict Black people face when adhering to the dominant culture and their own identity. I also highlight Bell Hooks's Eating the Other, which analyzes the consumption of Black culture for white pleasure. Using these theoretical frameworks, my study illustrates the extent to which white culture emphasizes Eurocentrism, as well as how white consumerism manipulates Black identity. During my interview with a respondent named Lou, age 18, regarding the importance of understanding the origins of the rap genre, Lou emphasized, quote, "I do not believe it is important to understand the culture and history of rap music. Listening to the music should be an experience and discovery for oneself to come to their own understanding of what the artists wish to portray." This seems to be a sentiment many white boys hold. When talking with another respondent, JR, age 13, he denied looking up to rap artists despite being dressed head to toe in hip-hop inspired fashion and jewelry, and repeatedly using African American vernacular as slang throughout our interview. These teen boys seek inflated masculinity within rap, while also culturally appropriating Black culture through dress and language. They view Black narratives and culture as entertainment, something that mirrors minstrelsy practices of the 19th and 20th century. These practices of the past and present rely on the representation of Black identity without a Black body being present, thus commodifying what is perceived to be Black culture. My findings indicate that although the intentions of white teen male consumers may be earnest in nature, their fascination with Blackness is a cog in the machine that maintains exclusionary practices against the Black community and distorts Black culture at large. Resolving this cultural manipulation necessitates increased education and calls one to question how we should reflect upon the cultures we consume. With that being said, I would like to take this time to thank Professor Song, my family for their unwavering support, my 218 Raft, and my loved ones who are no longer here but guide me in everything I do. Thank you. And please welcome to the stage Chester Amaral.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Chester Amaral. The title of my essay is Mosquito-Borne Diseases, Socioeconomics, and Climate Change, a Source of Environmental Injustice. Small bite, big threat. That is a quote from the World Health Organization in 2014 describing the threat of mosquito-borne diseases. I know most people in this room have dealt with mosquitoes before, but I also know that most don't know that mosquitoes are more than a nuisance, as they carry and spread a variety of diseases that include, but is not limited to, malaria, dengue fever, Zika virus, chikungunya, and West Nile virus. In fact, they are the most dangerous animal on the planet, accounting for more than 1 million deaths a year. Unfortunately, whether it's countries in the global south or in urban cities in the United States, most of the weight of this burden will be felt by low-income and disadvantaged communities. First, it is important that we understand what a mosquito-borne disease is. They fall into the categories of both parasitic and viral diseases and are classified as zoonotic, meaning they can be spread from animals to humans. Another quality many people aren't familiar with is that mosquitoes have 4 stages of life: egg, larva, pupa, and flying adult. And they spend 3 of these 4 stages in standing water. In the past, sources of mosquito production were areas like wetlands, swamps, and agriculture. Now, due to our increased urbanization in the United States, mosquito species have adapted to not only survive, but thrive in urban environments. Discarded tires, green pools, planters, and buckets are some examples of artificial containers being utilized by mosquitoes. The disease that poses the biggest risk to us here in the United States is West Nile virus. One of the strongest indicators of mosquito production and the spread of West Nile virus in these areas is socioeconomic status. In Baltimore, Washington, D.C., Chicago, and Orange County, there is a clear correlation between economic conditions and the prevalence of mosquitoes. This is due to a couple reasons. First is the lack of infrastructure. Storm drains, catch basins, and gutter systems, if not properly maintained, will result in standing water that provides mosquitoes with a prime habitat. But with that being said, this leads to the more important reason, which is a lack of education. Most people are simply unaware of the nature of mosquitoes and that the conditions of their property are providing them with habitats. I reached out to my local mosquito abatement district in Merced County, which is a government agency dedicated to mosquito control. The vector biologist and laboratory manager, Laura Hernandez, informed me that beyond monitoring for disease and providing mosquito treatments, one of their biggest tools is education, which is not only provided to residents, but also to students in their educational program. While this is great news for Merced County residents, communities in Baltimore and Washington, D.C. have no dedicated resources for mosquito control and desperately need these types of efforts. This leads us to climate change, which will, quite simply, act as an amplifier for the mosquito production process. Mosquitoes will live longer, bite more, and have a higher chance of laying eggs that will pass on the disease. This, combined with the relationship between socioeconomics and mosquito-borne diseases, will create a problem that will disproportionately affect those who are already struggling. We already see the effects of a warming climate, as malaria, dengue fever, and Zika virus have all made their way to Central and South America, and if nothing is done, they could be a very real threat that we face here in the future. Therefore, we must provide these low-income urban areas with the proper information and resources relating to mosquito-borne diseases, to not only facilitate medical testing and treatment, but hopefully prevention altogether. Education is imperative to making citizens aware of their situations so that they can properly advocate for themselves. And ultimately, solutions to this problem call for us to work together. Efforts from government agencies like mosquito abatement districts are necessary, but active engagement from the public is vital as well. And this collective effort is the only way to create a world where mosquito-borne diseases are no longer a threat. Thank you.
And now please join us in welcoming our second set of presenters to the stage. Our first presenter is Kylie Colling.
Hello everyone, my name is Kylie Kowalling, and my capstone is From Aesthetics to Ideology, the Online Rejection of Feminism and the Embrace of Tradition. This project was born out of a personal experience. Imagine you're myself, absentmindedly scrolling through TikTok as one does nowadays, from videos on makeup to outfits to home cooking recipes and homesteading, until I realized my feed is overrun with videos of women in their pristine white kitchens speaking about harnessing your feminine energy, submission to your husband, and how feminists are naive, as feminism is the root to all of our modern problems. How does perfect cinnamon rolls lead to feminism ruin the economy? Or Nara Smith cooking to how women are wasting their years pursuing an education? If you're thinking, how did I get here? That's exactly why I wanted to examine algorithms and online aesthetic trends that lead to a slippery slope of online radicalization and rejection of feminism. My research examines a growing digital phenomenon, how aesthetic social media trends, particularly the trad wife and femininity, not feminism movements, are being used to subtly radicalize women into anti-feminist and alt-right ideologies. While we have significant scholarships on the online radicalization of young men through the alt-right pipeline, the process by which women are drawn into these spaces remain less explored. What makes this pipeline so effective, it doesn't begin with ideology, it begins with aspiration. Soft entry points like home cooking, baking, stay-at-home mom, homemaker, then slowly shifts to rhetoric around womanhood, femininity, traditional values, and critiques of feminism. The language becomes more ideological the deeper you scroll. The tradwife pipeline works as it blends lifestyle and ideology so seamlessly that it comes off as self-improvement and empowerment, not indoctrination. To analyze this content and trend, I applied feminist media theory, which argues that media doesn't just reflect the world, it shapes it. Through the 3 R's, the depictions of women result from, reflect, and reproduce dominant ideologies. From this content that is being created by women, how are they portraying themselves? It's still within this male gaze that Mulvey coined, yet palatable to women by appealing through aesthetic and intimacy networking. It's recirculating the ideology of male as active and female as passive through the power of viral visibility and algorithmic trends. Through creators like Nara Smith, Hannah Nealman, aka Ballerina Farm, and S.T. Williams, we see an idealized version of domestic femininity in different ways. Nara Smith is this modern trad wife, Hannah Nealman is cottagecore, rustic, build your farm, and S.T. Williams is a retro 1950s make your husband a martini as soon as he comes home. They're not presented as political, but as empowering and idealistic. These influencers, whether knowingly or not, are instrumental in spreading aesthetic ideology, the belief system concealed within visual trends and lifestyle branding to their thousands to millions of followers. Then platforms use algorithmic reinforcement to draw users deeper into content that promotes a return to traditionalism as a cure to modern chaos and increasingly mirrors alt-right ideologies. It's important to note that the problem is not women choosing to have traditional roles or staying in the home. The problem is when these roles are presented as the only viable option for women, often excluding and devaluing queer identities, women of color, and any deviation from a heteronormative nuclear family structure. It doesn't look dangerous, ideological, political, or exclusionary until it is. Ultimately, this research challenges us to rethink how we define radicalization in this digital age. It doesn't always come off as explicit hate speech or aggressive rhetoric. Sometimes it comes in the form of sourdough tutorials, vintage dresses, and aesthetic get-readies with me in the morning. This online return to tradition and romanticization of the past is not the sole solution to our discontent of the modern world. Its simple regression repackaged as improvement, that the key to women's happiness and freedom is a step backwards. Our political climate has shifted, and the connection to online radicalization is there. We must critically interrogate not only what is being said, but how is it being marketed, circulated, and consumed, especially in this era where ideology is increasingly coded and aestheticized. Because if we don't, we risk trading progress for prettiness and equality for an illusion online. I want to thank you all for listening, and I want to thank my friends, my professors, and especially my mom who's in the audience for being here. And I would like to welcome the next presenter, Haley Fagundes.
Hello everyone, my name is Haley Fagundes, and I will be presenting my project entitled Privacy in the Age of Platforms. So most of us probably know that our data is being used on third-party websites like Instagram to be sold to marketing companies and advertising networks. The things that we like, follow, or even look at for too long are compiled into data that social media sites sell so that they can promote things that they think we might buy. With the recent ongoing surrounding social media sites, I, along with many others, have held the sentiment that we never really had that privacy anyways. And as a legal studies student who has almost exclusively studied the Constitution for 4 years, I decided that there wouldn't be a more fitting way to analyze what our digital lives are like right now. So I did my research on our expectation of privacy, which is how the Supreme Court decides if we're protected by the Fourth Amendment or not. This third-party use of our data isn't necessarily something that the Constitution protects, especially verbatim. But what we are protected from is government surveillance. Since it was ratified, the Fourth Amendment has protected our right to be secure in our persons, houses, papers, and effects, not to be violated without a warrant or probable cause. In my study, I go through Supreme Court cases that analyze the Fourth Amendment and its parameters. What went from a very literal interpretation ratified in the late 18th century has had to evolve as technology like the telephone was introduced. And yes, the telephone was the new technology. While our expectation of privacy has now been expanded beyond the physical world, the digital world is still not all that safe. My research consisted heavily of Supreme Court cases, examining both majority and dissenting opinions. This was not only to provide historical context, but also show signs of the court's future attitudes towards its interpretation. All other research was done to show the modern dilemma of digital privacy concerns and the need for a revision to the right to privacy. Ultimately, what I found is that the government has been constantly trying to find new ways to use technology to increase its surveillance. I provide earlier examples of this, such as the Patriot Act of 2001. So, how is this happening now? The answer is commercially available information, which is the same information that social media sites are selling to data brokers and other clients for profit. But now, US intelligence agencies are also taking this route to invade our privacy. My project aims to demonstrate the need to continue to adapt our expectation of privacy to digital advancements. For our government to be participating in this market of our sensitive information, there must be some boundaries protecting our expectation of digital privacy. In 1928, Justice Louis Brandeis wrote, "Time works changes, brings into existence new conditions and purposes. Therefore, a principle to be vital must be capable of wider application than the mischief that gave it birth. This is peculiarly true of constitutions." Though the Fourth Amendment was ratified to keep our sensitive information safe from government acquisition, its interpretation is failing to do so as it stands now. So, in the meantime, our digital lives remain for sale. Thank you for listening. Please welcome to the stage Giovanni.
All right, so I'll be doing a presentation on the attention economy and how forces like capitalism, colonialism can all affect that, and how that in turn affects us. Go to the next slide. Thank you. The invention of computers and internet technology has seen a major shift in how society operates with the new tech available. With that being said, it has become more relevant in this current era to say that we live in an age of information abundance. Back then, when information was harder to access or find, it was a lot easier to pay attention to new information. An abundance of information, however, has created attention scarcity. Thus, we now have the attention economy, a system relying on harnessing people's attention to peddle advertisements to the masses. The attention economy that has been generated in the internet age has set more parameters for business to make money in the modern world. The invention of social media has always allowed themselves and many companies to take advantage of these new parameters by making themselves able to sell our attention and data to companies. This has created something I've begun to understand as attention capitalism. Finding ways to understand social media sociologically, economically, and even philosophically has led someone like myself to wave the red flag of what social media truly does. Companies of big tech like X, Meta, Facebook, Google, have turned our attention and time into commodities to be exploited in order to make a profit. In a Marxist understanding of time, there is time of domination and time of liberation. In this dichotomy, we are either dominated by an elite class of people to labor for, or liberated from this to do as we please when we are out of the workplace. When we start the day before laboring in the workforce, what do a lot of us do? And when we enter days, what is our attention often spent doing? Unfortunately, a lot of us, myself included, spend many hours on social media. It may seem a bit jarring to state that social media is dominating us, but that is exactly what it is doing to our time. An elite group of people have found ways to add convenience to our lives, if it means commodifying our attention and extending the time of domination. Social media as a tool has unfortunately become something that turns its users into vehicles for profit, and the companies in charge of them have sought out to extend its reach globally. In the eyes of someone like Mark Zuckerberg, it is one of humanity's greatest opportunities to connect countries like India to the internet. The creation of what he calls Digital India is arguably similar to that of British India, a title representing a history of colonial rule. Some of the most popular social media platforms are American websites, and historically it is not far-fetched to think that these systems we live under are geared towards perpetuating the colonial hierarchies in our history. So while social media is indeed aiming to exploit and profit off people all around the world, I have found that it is only the problem to many larger ones at play. Social media, at the end of the day, is only a tool, and when used in the hands of Western capitalism, it will aim to accomplish goals that the systems were geared towards. With the advantages that modern technology brings us today, there is good reason to ask why resisting it is something worth our energy. Social media brings us comfort, endless hours of entertainment, and connects us to many people in our lives far easier than ever before. However, should convenience come at the expense of our attention spans, our information and data, our mental health, or even our precious time? The time we spend doing work for social media companies and generating value for their products could have been used to our benefit. Labor is necessary to keep society functioning, but should we labor for social media companies knowing the toll it is taking on those who are connected? We as a society were always connected to one another, and social media is technology built to solve problems that didn't exist. Our attention and time were not given to us to be harvested by companies and tech elites. Let's remember that we determine what's valuable in our lives. Let's do our best to minimize the damages that social media is doing and learn to use it when we want to. Try to keep in mind why you're using a tool in the first place. A hammer isn't useful unless you're nailing something into the wall, and it never begs you to keep using it. Thank you. Now I'd like to introduce our next presenter, Jason.
Hello everyone, my name is Jason Harrell. I'm a creative writing and social action student here at CSUMB. My capstone is called Clockwork Intelligence. It is a creative writing piece set in a fantasy steampunk world, to be more accurate, clockpunk. It is about two characters who take diverging paths. One of them, Byron, he becomes a successful inventor by introducing a new technology to this world that changes the world itself. And that technology is the clockwork golem. The other character here, the smaller character in this picture, is Shiara. She is a simple miner, but because of the institution of this technology and the way people use it, she becomes an outlaw, a pirate, and a freedom fighter in this world. This piece is an allegory, and there has been a long history of using fiction and fantasy as an allegory, a metaphorical representation of our world as a way to hold a picture up to reality and to highlight certain aspects of it that need attention. There have been many great authors who have utilized this method of writing. In particular, I would like to draw attention to one of my inspirations for this story, Terry Pratchett, one of my favorite authors. He was a passionate advocate for fantasy as an art form, and fiction and fantasy in its use as a way to educate people, as a way to show people other lives, other circumstances, other perspectives, and a way to build empathy. And said many times that fiction is a form of lie that is used to reveal the truth. The novel that I have up here is Feet of Clay. It is a story that Terry Pratchett wrote where he used clay golems to represent the modern technology of his time. In my story, the clockwork golems are meant to represent artificial intelligence in particular, although there are other aspects of modern culture and modern technology present in the story as well. And it is meant to highlight concerns about potential use, misuse, and abuse of artificial intelligence as it becomes more prevalent and common in our modern day life. As pointed out in my story, a same object can be both a tool and a weapon, and what truly matters is the intent of the wielder. I'd like to thank my professors for helping me get to this point. I want to thank all of the friends that I've made here at CSUMB, especially those at Board Game Club. And I'd like to thank my family as well. In particular, I'd like to thank my parents who have been so supportive of me this entire journey. Thank you very much.
Muchísimas gracias a nuestros últimos ponentes. Y ahora vamos a dar la bienvenida a los profesores de Humanidades y Comunicación. El escenario para felicitar personalmente a los estudiantes graduados que van a recibir sus certificados.
Thank you so much to our last group of presenters. At this time, we would like to welcome all the HCOM faculty to come to the stage in order to personally congratulate the graduating scholars as they receive their certificates.
Ahora presentaremos los profesores de Capstone. Estela Porras. Kai-Chi Hua y Ho Jin Song. Quienes reconocerán a sus alumnos, comenzaremos con la doctora Song.
One second, can I jump 1 second? Also, we have here in the auditorium Dave Ricker, faculty as well, so can you join us? He just retired recently, so some of the students also have been part of his classes and is part of our family here. Yeah, sorry to interrupt.
Thank you, Dr. Estela.
Thank you everyone for coming to congratulate our class of 2025. We're very proud of their work. So I'm going to call my students' names who have worked with me this semester. Abigail Robles. Allison Berry. Aiden Lee, who is traveling for his athletics today. Ariana Zumudio. Aubrey Amila. Bianca Pacheco Montiel. Brooke Sampson. Callista Hesbury. Candice Hurt, who couldn't make it today. Cole Murchison, who's also traveling for his baseball tournament. Haley Sanfilippo. Hannah Sprouty. Jaden Shepard, who is also traveling for baseball. Jose Guzman. Kaylee Gonzalez. Madeline Humbert. By the way, Madeline made a lot of friendship bracelets, so if you weren't able to talk to her about her paper, please do.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Mariana Montufar. Marissa Torres. Mariah Saucedo. Mitchell Nagel, who is also traveling today. Cindy Rivas Mendez. Sophia Ershid. Stephanie Placencia. Taylor Harris. Teresa English. Victoria Gonzalez Nunez. Zach Cooper.
So hi everyone, my name is Estela Porras. I'm very happy to be here and see our families and colleagues and well, this is a beautiful celebration and we're really happy and proud with the students. They've been working hard and they're expanding their minds, their hearts. So I'm gonna be reading and I'm trying to pronounce as much as I can. So we have here Alex Pengabat. Josebal? Alex, congrats. And now, CJ Clark. CJ, a lot of well-being, learning about the concept of critical well-being. That's beautiful. Okay, here we have Christian Rua Damian. Christian. And now, she's wonderful, Eden Magaña. A teacher, Elizabeth McKay. Oh goodness, we have Francisco Lopez.
Thank you.
Well, now you know Giovanni Castañeda. Right here. And we have Hailey Fagandes. Now we have creator-writer Jason Harrell. And now with the power of the like button, we have Jonathan Avalos. Jonathan! Oh my goodness, I saw him and now he ran somewhere. Okay. But we're gonna keep the certificate here. Ah, wow. Now look at who's here. Jorge Rodriguez Obeso. Jorge. Okay, good. Ah, wow. We have another video maker, filmmaker here. Joseph Durham. Joseph. Guys, if you had the chance to click ever with that in those posters, you're gonna see, for instance, Joseph's video. Also, we have Jorge's video. Jorge's video about male toxicity is so interesting, and Joseph's video is so slick. It's all about EV. Well, I don't know. You will go and watch it. It's very well done.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. What about Frankenstein? A little bit of horror here. So we have a student who connected the novel with AI. So this is Juan Carlos. Bravo Rivera. Bravo Juan Carlos. Congratulations. And another creative writer totally into the newest possible technology understanding. So here we have Katie Flood. With a beautiful work too. A student who starts thinking about democracy and social media, Kinney Smith. Okay, let's see our presenter here. We have Kaylee Cowling. Oh, okay. Now we learn a lot about procrastination and social media with the research of Leah Clark. Now we have another project that has to do with disabilities and technology. That's so interesting about inclusion. Lisa Lomeli. This is another teacher thinking about technology in the classroom. Mia Corona. Well, this is another person with a lot of vision about education. So this is Natalie Uwaso. And a person interested in sports, journalism, and technology, Rodrigo Moraz. Okay, the last person is Sarahi Topete, but I think that she wasn't able to come here. She has some other situation there. So thank you to all the students and the faculty. And now we have the last group.
Okay, everyone. Thank you very much, Estela. My name is Kai-Chi Hua, professor of legal studies. My section is an online section, so actually first time meeting everyone, and thank you for coming, and also bring your family and loved ones. We have about 16 students, I think, because 2 students are sick and 2 athletes right now traveling in Los Angeles, and for different reasons. So very proud of you of overcome all the difficulties and accomplished so much this semester. So good job. I'll just pronounce the first name if that's okay to avoid any confusion of last name, because everyone's first name is very unique in my class. Aliyah. Next student, Anthony. Oh, yes, he's playing, yeah, okay. Okay, this student is not feeling well. Cedric. No, okay. Chester. Cece. Dan. Is Dan here? No? Okay. Elizabeth. Ethan. Jack. Javier. Jasmine. Kiva. Not here. this student not feeling well, too, I think. Moel? No? Marisa? Marlene? Megan? Nate? Omar? I think that's all. Right? Okay, that's all. Yeah, thank you so much.
Gracias a todos por venir al Festival de Capstone de Departamentos de Humanidades y Comunicación, primavera de 2025. Esperamos que hayan disfrutado este evento.
Thank you everyone for coming to the Department of Humanities and Communications Spring 2025 Capstone Festival. We hope that you enjoyed this event.
Queremos agradecer al personal y a los profesores de la Escuela de Humanidades y Comunicación, en especial a los profesores de Capstone, Ho Jin Song, Estela Porras y Kai-Chi Hua, por inspirarnos y guiarnos en nuestro trayecto.
At this time, we'd like to thank the staff and faculty of the Department of Humanities and Communication, and particularly to the Capstone professors, Dr. Estela Porras, Dr. Kai-Chi Hua, and Dr. Hojin Song, for inspiring and guiding us through this journey.
Finalmente, se les agradece a los estudiantes de Capstone, a sus familias y al personal de apoyo de HCOM, Wendy Rutledge, Natalie Carbonell y Yvonne Gillette, quienes han dedicado mucho tiempo y esfuerzo para preparar este evento.
Finally, we'd like to thank the Capstone students, their families, and the HCOM staff team, Wendy Rutledge, Natalie Carbonell, and Yvonne Gillette, who have devoted much time and effort in preparation for the Capstone Festival.
Gracias por acompañarnos y que pasen una excelente tarde.
Thank you for joining us and have a beautiful rest of your day.
Thank you. I just want to. What's your name?